And I thank you for being here. Appreciate if you weren't here, I wouldn't be talking, but you are here. Okay, so again, these games are from Team 45 League, 45-45. Okay, so Black is playing the Dutch defense. I guess they call this what, the St. Petersburg Dutch, or no, the Leningrad Dutch. I guess it was Leningrad Dutch. It's been renamed the St. Petersburg Dutch. Okay, but White's fianchetto, that's not usually the case in the main line, but this is all playable. Now, usually Black doesn't play e6 in the St. Petersburg Dutch. He's going to fianchetto this bishop. Okay, so he's transposing into a regular Dutch. Okay, now let's see. There's just I wonder if Black can get away with G5 here. It looks a little awkward, but then I probably would have to go back to D3, and we've got a tempo on this. That looks a little risky. Okay, C6. I don't like seeing 3 pawns in a row here. Normally, like I say, this bishop is fianchettoed, and this pawn structure is a little better for Black. But, you know, essentially the game is even. So here White's trying to fix Black, possibly with a isolated and backward pawn. If there's wholesale exchanges on D5, that's what would happen, right? Black has the opportunity to push. Let's see if he does. Okay. So to some degree, Black's kind of getting out of this what he wants. So maybe D5 is premature. Maybe what White should just do is castle. Let me enlarge the board. Okay. Now this is interesting. Interesting position. So he says, if you take my knight, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to steal some stuff from you. Okay, so he takes back. Now Black has a nice center pawn mass, and he's certainly determined to play some tricks here. Okay, the idea is pawn takes. He's going to take with the bishop check. And if the knight takes, the queen will take its place. But there's no rule that says Black's going to take with his pawn. So let's see what Black does. And there's no rule that says you have to take this. So that would kind of be foolhardy. Okay, so Black should just develop a piece here. Let's see, I'm thinking bishop e6 would make sense. And it closes down the diagonal. Okay. But that also it takes away the flexibility of these 2 pawns. A lot of times in a Dutch, if Black can get those 2 pawns up there, build up his forces behind them, then push them, Black can get some attacking chances.
Check.
So White's picked up the bishop pair, but doesn't have a whole lot of development. Neither does Black. Okay, nice square for the knight. Decides to go there instead. Okay, so you know, game still seems roughly even. You know, this could be a problem child, but maybe not. I still want to see something like this come in. Okay, there you go. Now White plays to undermine Black's center. Black should probably take that pawn. He doesn't have to. Okay, that makes sense. Let's just reinforce. Now Black's trying to push. I don't know. Should he take with the pawn? Seems to make sense to me. I want to try for this move. So this just leaves Black with a couple of bad pawns. Now let's see. I think he's playing to win a pawn here. No, he's not going to win a pawn. because the queen doesn't have to take. He has to take with the pawn. He took, or does he? Let's see. Oh, he's got counterplay on the rook down here in the corner. Okay. Well, black's doing a great job taking time. White reasonable too. White has a close to a 2-to-1 time advantage. They do get a 45-second increment, so it's maybe more like 3-to-2, but or 5-to-3. But you know, definitely white could slow down and think about the choices. Let's see. You know, these pawns are bad. This bishop in the center is just a tall pawn, like in a long pawn chain. It's not doing a whole lot, but it is keeping white from stealing a pawn. So white will probably play rook here. We got to save the rook. Might as well gain a tempo, right? Oh, he goes this way. Okay, so here the idea is I want to take this pawn and your bishop is pinned. Okay, so defense. Now he doesn't have time for this, but he could play e3. The idea of trying to put the rook on d4. Let's see what happens. He does play e3. Now, sometimes I'm scared myself. I think I'm psychic. Okay, but let's see. Black is a little tied down. You know, the queen can come into e5. Now, that's a nice central square. White could counterattack that pawn on a7, but black could play rook e7. I don't know, the game still seems even. You know, white's got some structural advantages in that these pawns are all isolated and potential targets, but black's holding together like glue. Now, I don't like this so much. You know, he's putting yet another pawn on a light square. You know, that could make these pawns very weak. I would have preferred seeing queen e5. Okay, so white says, let's trade queens and I'll have a better bishop. He declines. And now keeping the pressure on the f-file. And he says, if you put your rook on the f-file, I'll go into a bishop ending, and because your pawns are on light squares, I have the winning chances. Okay, probably shouldn't have advanced that pawn. And the reason is it's safer on a7. That's the main idea. You know, that becomes maybe a target. White can, you know, possibly build up an attack on that pawn that, and black will be tied down to guarding too many pawns. Okay, so it comes over here. And that's probably a wise choice. Let's get rid of those pawns. But it does take his queen out of play. And this keeps the heat on this. Maybe he tries to penetrate down this way, come behind this pawn. Maybe black should play queen e7 here. Of course, queen b6. We have rook a8. We'll see what happens. So it goes this way. White probably should, well, if he declines the exchange, I don't know, this check could be a nuisance, but maybe he can survive it.
Check.
He elects to go here. Now he's picking up a pawn on a tactic. But there may be some pitfalls. Check and takes. Black gets a check, and he's going to take here.
Check.
Oh no, we can't check here. Haha. Okay. So let's see. We have to forgive black being in time pressure. Black did spend about 2 minutes on the move, but tactically it's unsound. So what should black have done here? Well, I think, again, come back here with this move and just hold the position together. You know, if white tries to go behind the pawn, we can go here. Okay.
Check.
So now white's bagging a pawn. Now he's trying to check here. So queen d2 would be a good move. Very good. Now let's centralize the queen, put it on d4. So right for the moment, we can't advance these pawns. Maybe at some point White needs to try to bring this bishop into play somehow. Let's see how White conducts this. Oh, there it is. There's the bishop trying to come into play.
Check.
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to check.
Check.
And now just bring the queen back to here and keep the pressure on these pawns. Okay, I would have come back here. But black is down a pawn. Now this pawn's able to advance. Or is it? The question is, does black have this move? See, the idea is if bishop takes, queen takes, we get this check, and White's going to get checkmated. Let's see if he took it. Okay, maybe there's something wrong with it. I mean, we can see the obvious, right?
Check.
Okay. Oh, no, we're in check. Ah, okay. So that's why he played king h8, to threaten this. So this is why the queen should have come back to this square. Now, if b4, we just pick off the pawn. And let's see. Maybe White's going to win a pawn here back. Maybe not.
Check.
Let's see. If king here, we have check.
Check.
And then we take this. No, we don't.
Checkmate.
We could take this way. But I don't know. This this could be embarrassing. Like if White comes here nonchalantly.
Checkmate.
We have a checkmate down here. So what's White need to do here? We have to cover this square. That means put the queen here or put the queen here. Let's try this square. Well, you know, the king's disposed. We can try for perpetual check. Let's see. Unfortunately, we don't have a check right now. Well, we have this check, but that's just going to go into losing king and pawn ending. Might be black's best choice. Okay. Now that pawn's gone, so we can't take it.
Check.
Gives the king a little air on this. Attack and defense. Now this bishop's just a bad piece.
Check.
There goes the pawn.
Check.
And White's still a pawn ahead, but that a pawn looks awful dangerous. It's just going down the board. There's nothing he can do about it. Yeah, it's all over. Well, good game, good in-game play by White. It was a very interesting in-game position. Okay, let me stop.